The burgundy wallpaper of my parents' living room seems to pulse with each note of White Christmas floating from the stereo. Mother insists on playing Bing Crosby every the 25th of December, just as she insists the artificial Douglas fir must stand exactly 6 inches from the bay window. Perfect symmetry matters in the Foster household. I shift on the Italian leather sofa, its cold surface refusing to warm beneath me. The room sparkles with crystal ornaments and silver garlands that Mother special orders from a boutique in Vermont. No multicolored lights allowed, no tinsel, no homemade decorations that might disturb the carefully curated elegance. Paris. Madison's squeal pierces the room as she waves a thick envelope. Mom, Dad, this is incredible. My older sister clutches a first-class ticket to her chest, her perfectly manicured nails flashing red against the crisp paper. A career-building opportunity. She reads from the card. $3,500 for the ultimate networking experience. Mother beams, her silver hair catching the morning light. We know how hard you've worked this year, darling. You deserve every penny. My hands tremble slightly as I look down at the small package in my lap, wrapped in the same silver paper as Madison's envelope. The box is light, barely weighing anything at all. I carefully pull back the tape, preserving the paper the way Mother taught us. Just tear it, Claire Bear, Madison says with a laugh that sounds like breaking glass. It's not like you'll reuse it. Inside sits a book with a cartoon woman on the cover, clinging to a sparkly wand. The title screams in hot pink letters, How to Be an Adult, a Guide for Late Bloomers. We thought it might help you finally get serious about life, dear. Mother's voice carries that familiar note of disappointment, wrapped in a thin veneer of concern. 32 is rather old to still be playing with children all day. Madison leans over, her designer perfume clouding the air between us. It's just what you need, Claire Bear. Maybe it'll help you find a real career. She pats my knee with the same condescending touch she uses on her daughter Ellie when the girl asks too many questions. Father checks his watch, already angling toward the television where the pregame show flickers silently. The Bills are playing in 20 minutes, he announces to no one in particular. My throat tightens as memories flood in, sharp and clear as icicles. Madison's voice on the phone last spring. It's just a temporary thing, Claire. $3,000, tops. I'll pay you back next month. Then again in summer, another few thousand, you're my sister. That's what family does. And again in fall. Just 2 more thousand, I promise. $9,000. 3 years of temporary loans that Madison never mentions anymore. The endless weekends watching Ellie while Madison networked at spas and wine tastings. The emergency babysitting calls at midnight when her dates ran long. No payment offered, no real thanks given. I worked 2 jobs to pay for my teaching degree, while Madison got checks from our parents. Education is expensive, they said then. We have to prioritize. Your little preschool thing is cute, Mother told me last month at dinner. But when are you going to find a real job? Something with a future? The cocoa in my favorite reindeer mug has gone cold, but I lift it to my lips anyway. The ceramic trembles against my teeth as I force a polite smile. Thank you for thinking of me. Madison's already moved on, showing Father the Paris itinerary he won't remember. Mother adjusts a crystal angel that hasn't moved. The room sparkles with expensive decorations that mean nothing at all. From the corner of my eye, I catch Ellie watching me. My niece sits cross-legged by the tree, her dark eyes serious beneath her bangs. 7 years old and already learning how this family works. Who matters? Who doesn't? Who gets Paris and who gets self-help books with cartoon covers? I set the mug down carefully on a silver coaster, making sure it doesn't leave a ring. Everything in its proper place. Everything perfectly arranged. But as I watch the fire catch the crystal ornaments, throwing rainbows across the burgundy walls, something shifts inside my chest. A quiet click, like a key turning in a lock. This is the last Christmas I'll be treated this way. The thought comes soft but certain, settling into my bones with the weight of truth. I don't make a scene. I don't cry or yell or throw the book across the room. Instead, I sip my cold cocoa and smile and wait for Father to turn on his football game. But I know, with a clarity that feels like winter sunlight, that everything is changed. They just don't know it yet. 2 days after the dinner, I was at home, preparing the counterattack. My apartment smells like leather and shoe polish, an odd comfort after the cloying perfume of Mother's living room. The wooden stairs creak beneath my feet as I climb to my small space above Antonio's shoe repair. Each step feels lighter than the last, as if Christmas dinner's weight drops away with the growing distance. Inside, I pull the copper kettle from the stove and pour steaming water over a chamomile tea bag. Steam rises in lazy curls while I reach under my bed, fingers searching until they brush against the spiral binding of my grandmother's old account book. The ledger's pages whisper as I smooth them flat on my kitchen table. Red ink chronicles a story my family refuses to see. The 15th of March, emergency loan to Madison, $3,000. The 22nd of April, visa application fees, $800. The 7th of June, short-term help, $2,500. My hand trembles as I add today's date and a single word: enough. The numbers blur before my eyes. $9,000. 3 years of temporary loans that Madison swore she'd repay. I flip through my banking app, cross-referencing deposits and withdrawals. A notation catches my eye. A transfer Madison labeled Visa Fees matches the date of her Instagram post from Blue Mountain Spa Resort. My phone buzzes. A text from Ellie. Aunt Claire, why did Mommy say you had to watch me last week because she was at a work dinner? I saw her pretty dress when she went to meet Thomas. The ceramic mug nearly slips from my fingers. Thomas, Madison's tennis instructor, the emergency that pulled me away from Sarah's retirement party. Another buzz. The family group chat springs to life. Madison, urgent family dinner tomorrow night. Need everyone there. Mother, of course, darling, 6 p.m. sharp. Father, we'll bring the good scotch. Madison, Claire Bear, could use your help with summer tuition. Just $2,800 this time. We can discuss tomorrow. The ledger's pages crackle as my fingers clench. Before I can respond, my phone lights up with Sarah's call. Don't you dare reply yet, she says instead of hello. Meet me at Common Grounds in 20 minutes. I grab my keys and leave the apartment. 20 minutes later, the coffee shop's warmth wraps around me like a blanket as Sarah slides a steaming latte across the table. Her silver hair catches the afternoon light, reminding me of winter mornings in my classroom when the sun hits the craft glitter just right. Your sister's about as subtle as a marching band, Sarah says, stirring her Americano. Robert told me about the Christmas book. That family of yours. She shakes her head. Did I ever tell you about how boundaries saved his life? I lean forward as Sarah shares Robert's story of breaking free from toxic family patterns. My colleague's journey from family scapegoat to respected art teacher rings familiar bells in my chest. The bell above the door chimes and Mrs. Bedford, my landlord, waves as she collects her regular order. She pauses at our table. Claire, dear, I've been meaning to talk to you. That weekend craft class you did for my granddaughter was wonderful. Would you consider a regular arrangement? Maybe trade some rent reduction for teaching? Before I can answer, a harried-looking woman approaches, juggling a coffee and a bright purple folder. Miss Foster? I'm Jessica, Lily's mom from your preschool class. I heard through the grapevine that Enchanted Events is closing down. They were supposed to handle Lily's birthday next month. I just replied that I will check everything first and then call her again. I thanked Sarah and went home. An hour later, after I came home, my phone buzzed again. Madison's name flashes on the screen, but I silence it. Instead, I pull up my email and begin typing. Dear Madison, I've attached a complete record of the $9,000 in loans provided over the last 3 years. I care about you deeply, but I can no longer offer financial support without a formal repayment plan. The words flow easier than I expected. I outline clear babysitting boundaries next, specific hours, standard rates, no last-minute emergencies unless there's genuine crisis. My hands steady as I type, strength flowing from somewhere deep and quiet. A gift bag sits beside my chair, carefully wrapped this morning. Inside, a handmade fairy door for Ellie's room and a note promising special aunt-niece craft days. She won't be caught in this mess. My laptop screen glows as I research local business license requirements. The city's small business development page bookmarks easily enough. A template for a business plan waits in my downloads folder. The first text arrives before I finish my latte. Madison's words splash across my screen in all caps. How dare you demand money from family? And in that way, tomorrow's dinner reservation was completely canceled. Mother's voicemail follows, her voice trembling with practiced tears. Claire Elizabeth, I cannot believe you would turn your back on your sister like this. After everything we've done for you. Father's email lands in my inbox with his usual corporate efficiency. Your behavior will cause permanent damage to your standing in this family. Consider carefully before continuing down this path. My finger hovers over their contact information. 2 quick taps, and their numbers vanish behind a 48-hour block. The screen dims to black, reflecting my face. My chin lifts slightly, shoulders squaring. Outside, snow begins to fall, dusting the winter bare trees with possibilities. My phone stays silent on my table, but my heart beats steady and strong, like footsteps walking away from a door that no longer leads home. A whole month passes with these push and pull awkward messages and avoidance. However, on Tuesday morning, the click of Madison's heels against the preschool linoleum sends tiny earthquakes through my stomach. She stands in my classroom doorway, perfect posture and pressed pantsuit, while 3 mothers hover near the cubbies pretending not to listen. Claire, this behavior has to stop. Madison's voice carries across the room like a dinner party announcement. Mom and Dad are worried sick about you. I continue arranging craft supplies for the afternoon session, counting out glue sticks with steady hands. 1, 2, 3. The ritual of preparation anchors me as Madison's words float past. Did you hear me? She steps closer, wafting expensive perfume through my careful world of washable paint and construction paper. Mom called your principal about your instability. My fingers pause on the 4th glue stick. 5, 6. And Daddy talked to Mrs. Bedford about your suspicious activities. Madison lowers her voice to a stage whisper that probably carries to the parking lot. All those supplies being delivered? The late night noise? Sarah appears in the doorway behind Madison, art smock already spattered with the day's first painting disaster. Her eyes meet mine with quiet concern. I have a business license, I say, my voice surprising me with its calm. Mrs. Bedford helped me file the paperwork last month. Madison blinks, her perfect lipstick twisting. A business? You mean those little fairy parties you're planning? That's not a real. I have excellent references. I open my teaching portfolio, sliding out the principal's latest evaluation. Outstanding marks in creativity, classroom management, parent communication. Would you like to see my credentials? This isn't about your job. Madison's voice rises half an octave. This is about family loyalty, about watching your own niece while I network with. I'd love to have Ellie visit during business hours. I pull out one of my new business cards, designed with watercolor wings and silver edging. My rates are very reasonable for regular clients. Rates? Madison snatches the card, crumpling its corner. You'd charge your own sister? After everything we've done for? The fairy workshop is beautiful. Mrs. Chen steps forward from the cubbies, ending her pretense of not listening. My Katie hasn't stopped talking about her birthday party since she saw the photos. Is next Saturday still available, Claire? I smile, retrieving my appointment book. The morning slot just opened up. Perfect. Mrs. Chen pulls out her checkbook. Katie wants the full princess package with the bubble machine. Madison's face flushes as Mrs. Chen writes the deposit check. 2 more mothers drift over, phones already out to check their calendars. The room fills with cheerful planning while Madison stands frozen, the crumpled business card cutting into her palm. I have a class starting in 10 minutes. I accept Mrs. Chen's check with a quiet thank you. Was there anything else you needed? Madison's heels strike the floor like hammer blows as she storms out. My phone buzzes seconds later with her text. Mom and Dad will hear about this betrayal. I slip the phone into my desk drawer without responding. Sarah helps me arrange the last of the glue sticks while the mothers book their parties. The afternoon sun paints shadows through my classroom windows, turning ordinary corkboards and crayon drawings into the borders of an enchanted realm. That evening, I transformed the basement Mrs. Bedford offered into my first real workshop. Robert from the third grade room helps me carry in shelves and supplies, telling stories about his own family's dramatic reactions when he opened his photography studio. "They'll adjust," he says, hanging strings of fairy lights along the ceiling. "Or they won't. Either way, you'll be teaching those kids something more valuable than spelling." "What's that?" "That it's okay to believe in magic." He plugs in the lights, creating constellations across the concrete walls. "And that it's okay to believe in yourself." Sarah arrives with pizza and her marketing expertise, turning my simple website into something professional. 3 more bookings ping through before midnight. I store my first business check in a new accordion file labeled with today's date. My phone fills with family messages I don't read. Instead, I focus on crafting perfect fairy wings from iridescent fabric and strong wire that will survive countless games of make-believe. Each pair takes an hour to complete, but the work fills me with a peace I haven't felt in years. Later that week, I speak at a teachers' conference about creative play in early education. My voice doesn't shake once. The workshop space draws admiring comments from other teachers. My calendar fills with bookings through summer. Madison's texts shift from threats to carefully casual questions about my sudden success. Mother emails about investment opportunities. Father's secretary calls about family business ventures. I archive their messages without response. The basement workshop expands as Mrs. Bedford offers adjacent storage space at a fraction of market rate. Sarah transitions to part-time assistant, bringing order to my creative chaos. My first month's earnings match my teaching salary. At night, I sleep without waking to check my phone for family emergencies. The fairy wings hanging in my workshop catch moonlight through the basement windows, casting shadows like promises on the wall. Until Ellie's birthday appears on my calendar, circled in sparkly purple ink from months ago. I trace the date with my fingertip, remembering her solemn request for the most magical party ever before all this began. The choice I make next will change everything between us. But as I reach for my phone, I realize my hands aren't trembling anymore. A month later, everything was ready for Ellie's birthday. The glitter swirls through shafts of late afternoon sunlight as I put the finishing touches on a paper flower arch. My fingers brush the delicate petals, each one hand painted in watercolor shades of pink and violet. The basement workshop smells of fresh paint and possibility. "Perfect," I whisper, stepping back to survey my handiwork. Twinkling lights weave between gauzy fabric panels draped from the ceiling. Handcrafted toadstools dot the floor, their spots gleaming with metallic paint. A reading nook nestles beneath fabric branches, stuffed with velvet pillows and worn copies of fairy tales. The invitation sits on my workbench, addressed in careful calligraphy. "Princess Ellie, your presence is requested at a special fairy aunt adventure." 2 smaller envelopes beside it bear the names of her closest friends from preschool. Their mothers had been surprisingly eager when I called, especially after I mentioned professional liability insurance. My phone buzzes. Madison's name flashes on the screen, followed by a burst of texts. "What is this party invitation Ellie found in her backpack? You can't just plan things without asking me. She's crying because I said no. You're undermining my authority? Call me now." I set the phone face down on the bench, my hand steady. 3 years ago, when I started this small business and no one believed in me, those messages would have sent me scrambling to apologize. Now they roll past like autumn leaves in a stream. The phone rings. Mother's number. "Claire, dear." Her voice drips honey over thorns. "Madison's quite upset. You know how these elaborate gestures look, as if you're trying to buy Ellie's affection. It's a party, Mother, nothing more. Your father mentioned something about tenant regulations, special permits for children's events." Already handled. I trace the edge of my business license, framed and hanging beside the door. "Would you like the permit numbers?" Silence stretches between us like pulled taffy. Then, "Madison says she'll bring Ellie. She'll stay to supervise, of course." "Of course," I smile, knowing she can hear it. "I've got plenty of fairy wings for grown-ups too." The day arrives in a burst of giggles and gasps. Ellie freezes in the doorway, her eyes wide as saucers. "Aunt Claire," she breathes, "it's real magic." Madison hovers behind her, lips pressed thin. Her designer blazer looks stiff and strange among the sparkles and soft fabrics. Well, it's creative. Ellie's friends tumble in, their mothers lingering to snap photos. This is incredible. One whispers, slipping me her business card. My older daughter's birthday is next month. Do you have any openings? We paint fairy faces with shimmering colors. I teach them to make wands, weaving ribbons and bells around twigs collected from the park. Madison watches from a corner, her phone forgotten in her lap, something shifting behind her eyes. Again, Ellie shouts as I sprinkle fairy dust over their outstretched hands. Please, Aunt Claire, just one more time. The photos appear on local parents' social media before the glitter settles. Magical afternoon with Miss Claire? Best party ever. Finally, someone who understands what children need. Madison's comment appears beneath them. So proud of my creative sister. The words sit strange and shiny, like new pennies. She follows with a private message. The PTA is planning a spring carnival. Would you if you're not too busy. Mother's email arrives that evening, formal as a wedding invitation. Sunday dinner. Your father and I think it's time to discuss some family business opportunities. I read it twice, searching for the familiar undertone of manipulation. It's there, faint as a watermark, but something else threads through her words, something that sounds almost like respect. The basement holds its magic in the quiet after everyone leaves. A forgotten wand sparkles on a toadstool. A half-empty cup of fairy punch catches the last light through the window. I pick up Ellie's thank you note, covered in wobbly hearts. You make everything beautiful, Aunt Claire. My phone chimes with another message from Madison. I almost ignore it, but something makes me look. I'm sorry, it says. Just that. No excuses, no demands. I'm sorry. I sit in my reading nook, surrounded by the world I've created. The old fears whisper. They'll try to take control. They'll twist this into another way to use you. They'll never really change. But maybe, just maybe, they're learning. Maybe watching their carefully ordered world crumble under fairy dust has shaken something loose. Maybe there's magic enough here to transform more than just an old basement. I pick up my phone and type, Sunday dinner sounds nice, I'll bring dessert. After all, I think, sliding the business card into my planner, sometimes the bravest thing isn't walking away. Sometimes it's giving people space to surprise you. On Sunday that week, the mahogany dining table stretched before me like a battlefield. Mother spent 3 hours polishing it this morning. I can smell the lemon oil from where I sit, my portfolio pressed against my ribs like armor. The chandelier throws precise patterns across the lacquered surface, creating shadows that dance whenever someone shifts in their chair. I count the faces around the table. 8 where there should have been 4. Mother, father, Madison, and 5 surprise guests, including the Hendersons who run royal events planning. Their matching coral blazers flash like warning signs. More wine, Claire? Mother lifts the crystal decanter. Her silver bracelet catches the light, sending Morse code signals across the wall. Danger, danger, danger. No, thank you. I keep my voice steady, though my stomach churns. The first course sits untouched before me, butternut squash soup garnished with fresh sage from Mother's garden. The spoon remains perfectly aligned with the bowl's rim. Madison leans forward, pearls swinging. I have the most wonderful news, Claire Bear. Her smile stretches wide, showing too many teeth. Remember that charity event I mentioned? For the children's hospital? Well, I told them all about your adorable little parties. They're absolutely thrilled to have you handle everything. The soup ripples as Mother sets down her wine glass too firmly. That's why we invited Tom and Barbara. She nods toward the Hendersons. They've agreed to mentor you, help turn your cute hobby into something legitimate. Father slides a leather folder across the polished wood. We've drawn up the paperwork. 40% ownership split between your mother and me. 30% to Madison for managing the business side, and 30% for you to continue the creative work you enjoy. The children love you, Barbara Henderson adds, her voice dripping honey over steel. But you need professionals to handle the real business decisions. My hands should shake, they don't. 3 years ago, they would have trembled like autumn leaves. But that was before I learned to track every dollar, document every manipulation, build evidence like a wall between me and their expectations. I set my portfolio on the table. The dark blue leather looks stark against the cream tablecloth. Thank you for your concern about my business. The words come out calm, measured. I brought something to share as well. Mother's eyes narrow at my tone. Madison's smile flickers. I open the portfolio, removing a stack of pristine papers. First, the complete record of funds borrowed by Madison over 3 years. $9,000 with dates, amounts, and her promises of repayment. I place it before Father. The documented hours of emergency childcare, calculated at standard rates. This goes to Mother. And finally, my current business financials, client testimonials, and projected growth for the next 2 quarters. The room falls silent except for the tick of Mother's antique clock. I'm already properly licensed and insured. I meet Barbara Henderson's gaze. My liability coverage exceeds industry standards. I have contracts with 3 venues and a waiting list through December. Madison's face flushes. But the charity event? I never agreed to it. I turn to her. You didn't ask. You simply assumed. Like you assumed I'd always be available to watch Ellie, always have money to lend, always put your needs first. Now see here. Father's voice rises as he shoves back from the table. We're trying to help you build something respectable. No. The word rings clear as crystal. You're trying to control something that's already successful without your help. Something that makes you uncomfortable because it proves you were wrong about me. Mother presses her lips into a bloodless line. Claire Elizabeth Foster, you are being extremely ungrateful. I'm being honest. I pull out one final document. These are my terms for future family relationships. No financial entanglements, ever. Scheduled time with Ellie that won't be canceled for your convenience, Madison. Public acknowledgement of my legitimate career and respect for my choices going forward. Madison's eyes fill with tears. Real ones for once. You don't understand. I see how Ellie looks at you, how she talks about your magical parties. I was jealous. My own daughter likes you better than me. No, I soften my voice. Ellie loves you completely. She just wishes you saw her the way I do someone worth showing up for. Mother stares at her untouched soup. The silence stretches like pulled taffy, sweet and dangerous. Father slams his hand on the table. Wine glasses rattle. This isn't about business at all, is it? This is about you trying to embarrass this family, make us look foolish in front of our friends. I stand, smoothing my skirt. The house key burns in my pocket, the one Mother gave me when I turned 16, telling me it meant I was finally grown up. I place it gently beside my soup spoon. You're right, it's not about business. I gather my portfolio. It's about choosing to believe in myself as much as my 4-year-old students believe in fairy magic. It's about finally understanding that love shouldn't require me to be smaller than I am. The chandelier light catches Mother's tears, turning them to diamonds. Madison's shoulders shake. Father's face darkens like a thundercloud. But for the first time in 32 years, their reactions don't reach inside me and rearrange my organs. I walk to the door, my heels clicking against the hardwood. The sound echoes like applause, like permission, like freedom. Behind me, someone whispers my name. I don't turn around. Sometimes loving yourself means walking away, even when other people are crying. Sometimes growing up means leaving your key on the table and your family behind, knowing that if they ever truly want to find you, they'll have to meet you as an equal first. The door closes behind me with a quiet click. In the driveway, crickets sing their evening chorus. A warm breeze carries the scent of Mother's roses, the ones I helped her plant when I was 12, believing that creating beautiful things together meant she saw the beauty in me. I start my car, back out of the driveway, and point myself toward home. Not the home they wanted me to have, but the one I built for myself, full of glitter and finger paintings and the magnificent chaos of being exactly who I am. And 3 years later, these paintings will be completed. 3 years later, the morning sunlight streams through the tall windows of my new studio, catching specks of glitter that float like fairy dust in the air. A rainbow of organza wings lines the far wall, each pair handcrafted for upcoming parties. Sarah arranges supplies while Jenny, my newest assistant, sorts through a stack of booking requests. We're completely full through September, Jenny announces, her pencil tapping against the scheduling book. Should I start a waiting list? My fingers trace the edge of a silver-tipped wing as warmth spreads through my chest. 3 years ago, I sat in my parents' pristine living room, clutching a cartoon self-help book. Now my business employs 3 people, and the only glitter on my hands is the kind I choose to wear. The wall behind my desk blooms with thank you notes. Dear Miss Claire, thank you for making me feel like a real fairy princess. You helped Sophia believe in magic again. Each card represents a child whose imagination found safe harbor here. My phone buzzes. A text from Madison. Ellie hopes you'll still come to her school art fair tomorrow, no pressure. The absence of manipulation in her words still surprises me. Our relationship changed slowly, like ice melting in spring. First came the anger, then the awkward silence. But after I held firm to my boundaries, something shifted. Now when Madison asks for help, she accepts no as a complete sentence. The community college called yesterday about teaching another course on childhood creativity. Last semester's students still email me about their classroom successes. One photo shows a reading nook transformed into a hobbit hole, complete with a round green door. Another displays a science center reimagined as an explorer's outpost. Claire? Sarah's voice pulls me back. The conference organizers want to know if you'll keynote again next spring. Last year's speech terrified me. Standing before hundreds of educators, my voice shook as I began. But when I described how imagination creates sanctuary for struggling children, the words flowed like water. The standing ovation afterward still feels surreal. Tell them yes, I answer, surprising myself with the lack of hesitation. A knock at the studio door reveals Linda, my mother, holding a newspaper. I saw your interview, she says, hovering in the doorway. Her silver hair catches the light, reminding me of Christmas tinsel. About the scholarship fund for early childhood education students. The familiar tension creeps into my shoulders, but I breathe through it. Linda still struggles to understand my choices, but she's learning. Last week, she forwarded an article about successful women entrepreneurs without a single critical comment. Would you like some tea? I offer. Jenny just made a fresh pot. Linda perches carefully on a paint-splattered stool, somehow maintaining perfect posture. Her eyes drift to the wall of wings, lingering on a pair spelled with fresh copper paint. These are quite artistic, she manages. From Linda, that's practically a standing ovation. The scholarship announcement spreads across her lap. My small foundation will help future teachers afford their degrees without working 2 jobs like I did. The photos show my workshop during last weekend's mentoring session, where Amy, a young woman leaving her controlling family, learned to write business plans between crafting sessions. You've built something remarkable, Linda says softly, surprising us both. After she leaves, I unlock my office cabinet and pull out that old self-help book. Its pages burst with pressed flowers and notes from children. Birthday card scraps mark favorite passages, not about growing up, but about growing strong. Tonight, I'm adding something special. A photo of Ellie at last month's Christmas gathering, beaming as she hands me a handmade card covered in wobbly stars. My niece's art now decorates my office wall, right next to her mother's first genuine thank you note. The inscription I wrote years ago still graces the inside cover. Growing up isn't about changing who you are, it's about finally standing up for who you've always been. Standing at my window, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of possibility, I understand what that younger, uncertain Claire couldn't. Sometimes the most powerful magic isn't in fairy wings or glitter. Sometimes it's in the quiet strength of choosing your own path, even when that path sparkles. I place the book on its shelf, next to my business licenses and teaching certificates. The studio lights dim automatically, but I don't need them anymore. I've learned to trust myself in the dark. As I lock up, my phone chimes with another text from Madison. Thank you for showing Lee it's okay to be herself. I smile, slipping the phone into my pocket without feeling obligated to respond immediately. The evening air wraps around me like a familiar shawl as I walk to my car. Tomorrow brings another art fair, another chance to support my niece, another opportunity to show children they can soar on wings of their own making. And I'm ready for every moment of it.